Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Hudak. Maddy Hudak joins us on Mondays, a little film review. She's an analyst consultant with Next Gen PR and Scout Academy. Does great work, covers games for us. You can read her stuff at Saints Wire as well. Sideline reporter for Tulane. Maddy, we appreciate you. How are you?
I'm doing good. I apologize if my voice goes in and out from the fun norovirus going around New Orleans.
I'm not laughing at you. I was missing the We Out Chat tweet from the press box on Sunday, but glad you were able to watch the game. We do appreciate you for toughing it out and joining us today. Okay. I want to start with sort of maybe a big picture, obvious one, then we can maybe get into some nuance. How in the world did the Saints defense, which was 31st in the NFL in scoring, shut out the third best scoring offense in the NFL?
Honestly, it seems like a very simple solution where the pass rush finally got off and the coverage finally shored up, but it was really who shored up in coverage that stuck out the most to me. So I feel like the Saints defense has been very one-dimensional as of lately. Sometimes they have their run game going and then the coverage completely breaks down or vice versa. And when they're having trouble getting one of those units kind of working in tandem, having kind of the loose coverage they've had these last couple weeks, I don't think has really aided the pass rush, but they played a lot less at cover one, which has been giving them a lot of trouble in these last few weeks. And I feel like they finally just looked at the personnel in front of them. Okay, what are these players best at doing and how do we utilize them in order to do so? And the answer was Allante Taylor is kind of a lockdown press corner. And I think that was a little unexpected for everyone. Just his physicality and his ability to really shut down Davante Adams, which did not go unnoticed after he basically shut down DeAndre Hopkins in his first NFL start the week before that. But in doing so, that kind of allowed, Paulson Adebo to play a lot more off coverage and get a little bit more of a cushion because he's been beat a lot on the line of scrimmage lately. I don't know if it was his ankle or anything like that, but played a lot more cover 2 and cover 4. You saw Matthew in better positions to make plays. It just felt like this was kind of what the plan was supposed to be, what we all kind of thought we were working towards looking at in training camp, and then really hadn't seen that product on the field. But the fact that Allante Taylor can slot in as a Marshon Lattimore type, I think, is really the biggest part to that success.
Maddy, Allante Taylor, my assumption was like bigger corner, maybe plays the nickel. I didn't know that I expected Allante Taylor with Lattimore and Adebo to play on the outside like he has. Was this always the idea that this is his best position, that he's physically better as an outside cover corner?
So I actually had written a piece on Allante Taylor over the offseason. I talked with his longtime trainer that had worked with him since middle school, and it seemed pretty obvious when you looked at his traits, when you look at his film, and the fact that he used to play wide receiver growing up and quarterback. So he knows what they're going to do off the line of scrimmage. He knows all of those little tricks that they might do, but also his experience at quarterback, unlike Adebo, who's also a wide receiver. You can tell that he can just peripherally scan the field and make those reads really quickly. Dennis Allen pointed to his intelligence several times this offseason, and I think that's really what you're seeing. But I watched some of his hits, and I had actually looked at him wondering if they were going to kind of look at him as a safety type replacement for Malcolm Jenkins in the box because he seemed so physical in his run defense and his tackling and wrap-up technique. I think it was just one of those picks where the need didn't seem obvious, even though the Saints don't usually draft for need. But I think the Saints have said all along they plan on putting him at outside corner, and don't know if they expected it to happen this quickly, given the injuries. But I think that is kind of what he was drafted for. I don't know if it was to compete with Adebo or what the plan was there, but he certainly made, a conundrum for when Marshon Lattimore comes back healthy. Who starts opposite Marshon?
Maddy, somebody calling you? Do you hear those beeps?
You know what? That's simply my face pressing a bunch of buttons, and I really apologize for that.
Are you kidding?
I wish I had a better answer, and I should have lied.
That is the best thing ever. All right, Maddy Hudak, who has very aggressive cheeks, apparently, is joining us now. But Maddy, all the times you come on the show, it's the first time that's ever happened. Could you hear the beeps?
I did, and I just assumed it was something going on your end. I'm like, remember the Latavius Murray thing?
Yes.
Where you guys just kind of threw that out there? I'm like, yes, thank you. I just figured roll on through it. Alas, it was my fault.
I mean, an amazing, top tier pro job to just plow right through that, especially not knowing you were the one creating the beeps. Okay. All right. From the secondary to the front, this is a question everybody wants to know. What got into Peyton Turner, and can we expect to see that again?
I mean, it's kind of a good question because he's been a healthy scratch in several games this season. And when you're looking at a former first-round pick just a year ago who didn't really play that much last season, that was a little concerning. But you finally saw pass rush moves happen up there. There have been so many plays this season where it looks like there's an open lane to the quarterback, and the edge rusher is just kind of standing there a little bit. But you saw him use a swim move and just really working hard to get off of his blockers and actually getting into the backfield, chasing down the quarterback. It just seemed like he had kind of horse blinders on and finally saw the lanes that he was supposed to get to. And I wish I had a more intelligent explanation as to why, because it felt like he had his kind of year 1 to year 3 jump in one game after not really having a year 1 in the first place. But again, I think it has to kind of get credited back to that coverage and the fact that the pass rush was able to finally get something going. And I think it's one of those things that once you see it, once you're able to kind of get through those lanes, a lot easier to get through them again moving forward. So it just felt like that game as it went on and as they saw that they could really shut this down, as we've seen them do before, you could see it in every single player. You know, it wasn't always that Peyton Turner was opposite Cameron Jordan that was drawing coverage. With him and Tano passing on a few plays, but they all just played their one-on-one assignments and were just worried about the man in front of them. It just felt like Peyton Turner had a vision we hadn't seen.
So were Turner? So if Turner was opposite Jordan, were Turner and Davenport essentially rotating?
I believe so, yeah. But then again, Tano Passignon is also part of that rotation now.
Okay. She's on Twitter at Maddy Hudak _94. Give her a follow. I wanted to flip it over and ask about the offensive line as well. You've actually talked a little bit about like Cesar Ruiz playing better and grading out pretty well. I mean, it's hard to ignore the success the running game has had the past couple of weeks. That's obviously got to be Kamara running hard, but he's also had room to run. Are you noticing anything in particular on the offensive line, why their level of play has improved here these past couple of weeks?
Well, you said it. They just seem to be playing better, and you point out people like Cesar Ruiz. He finally seems to get it, for lack of a better phrase. You know, it seemed, again, like he was very much a deer in headlights a lot of the time. He'd show flashes and then look completely lost on a similar look in that same drive. But it seems like he's figured out finally how to do zone blocking, how to block man, and you could see those holes really opening up for inside zone plays with Kamara. And Kamara has this kind of rep that he's not this in-between the tackles type runner, and that's just not true. The blocking just wasn't there earlier on in the season, but they've really got it together, and it was the most balanced run attack that they've had all season. They actually ran 32 run plays, 32 pass plays. They've been really predictable on running on second down after throwing a pass. I know there's been a lot of criticism about play calling, and I just think it's kind of a combination of all of those things, playing Hill and Kamara off of each other, keeping them on the field on third down, doing power plays with Hill, where we had kind of done that film study a few weeks ago against Seattle and what had worked in the run game, and a lot of it was Taysom Hill power runs. Then we saw them run away from that entirely for those next few weeks after that. And Hill had 4 power runs in this game, and they played Hill and Kamara off one another. So on first down, Hill ran a power, and then Kamara ran it right after him. But they went back to outside zone and primarily leaned on it. And that game and the Seattle game are the ones where they've used outside zone runs the most. And when they played against Arizona, they only ran 2 outside zone plays and ran 6 inside zone plays. And that clearly just did not really work out. But it just felt like I hate to say that Sean Payton coming into the facility for a week has, a lot to do with it. But for me, it was really hard to ignore. He showed up in the facility, and suddenly the Saints are using Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara how they kind of should be all along. I'm mostly joking about that, but if you just go back and look at the amount of run plays and the way that they stuck with it through series, and it wasn't super predictable. They passed on every single play in the first opening drive and really leaned on the run towards the end of the game, which was the exact opposite of Cincinnati, where they decided that, Andy Dalton throwing Keith Kirkwood on third down was a better idea than putting Hill and Kamara out there. So it really was all around Saints brand football.
Do you think that I know Sean Payton was there. Was he there all week, or did he just pop in for a day? Do you know?
I don't know. And okay. In my head, I imagine him popping in one day, giving a very impassioned speech, and then kind of leaving them to it. But I mean, not to take away again from Pete Carmichael and Dennis Allen. I think Dennis Allen called a really strong game, and I'm sure this game meant a lot to him, considering that was the team that he was the head coach for in the first place. But they stopped the run and they leaned on the run, and that, as much as this is a passing league, that's really what wins you those football games. And if the Saints stick to this, I think they finally found a recipe.
It would be, how do you stack? Now that the chore, Maddy, is they got to stack wins, right? I mean, you have to stack good performances so you don't have this yo-yo effect of a season like we saw during all those 7 and 9 years. But boy, yesterday was so encouraging because it showed they are capable, right? That they have the people and the pieces to do it and to deliver this kind of performance if they can keep it going.
Exactly. I say that all the time in college. A lot of the time I think it's mental more than anything else. And I don't think that there's a reason that shouldn't also apply to the NFL in that aspect. And that's really what you saw happen in this game. But we'll certainly have a test for that pass rush against the Ravens next week. So that'll really be a good way to see if this is kind of a flash in the pan or finally a turnaround by this team that has kind of been desperately needed.
She's Maddy Hudak. Follow her on Twitter at Maddy Hudak _94. She joins us on Mondays here to do a little film review. We appreciate it. Well, next Monday it'll be Monday Night Football, but we'll catch up somewhere down the line and appreciate it as always. Thanks, Maddy.
Thanks.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.